Hi everybody, we are back with a review on Star Wars The Clone Wars. I'm going to do Season 1 and Season 2. Here we go. So, really quick with Season 1. I don't have a whole lot to say about Season 1 because for me, Season 1 is more about seeing if the show has potential than it is to see how good Season 1 is, because most of the time, even with great shows, Season 1 is kind of a dud because Season 1 is where the writers are quite understandably are trying to find their footing. It's way different to have the ideas in your head about how characters are, how they interact, than when you get it on paper, because you have to get comfortable with it, writing the characters on a regular basis. So with Season 1, overall the first 4 episodes are all pretty much the same. Grievous attacks the Republic. Republic beats Grievous. Grievous abandons ship pretty fast. And everybody has a bad feeling about something. So for the whole season, I hear bad feeling about this like 572 times. Episode 5 is the most heartbreaking episode, where it's called Rookies, and it's about the clones. And I can tell that the writers are trying to get us really feel for the clones. The episodes I don't think are quite as interesting when it's not focused on Ahsoka and Anakin or Obi-Wan and Anakin. The episodes about Padme were not, I did not care. Jar Jar did not care. Season 1, it felt like and it's still in Season 2, it's kind of the same. It feels like kind of like the content is for young teens. I was very startled a couple times with how they implied some graphic things about how some people died, and that was kind of startling to me. But I think they want the content for it to be young teens. But the beginning of every episode feels like a children's show. They have like a thesis line / moral, and they go into this really overexcited narrator. Oh, friendship and unicorn and ooh! It's way too excited. Teens don't want to be talked to that way. So if it's for young teens, this format does not work. And then you have the German scientist. He kind of sounds and talks like a character from a children's show. I never hated Jar Jar as much as some people did in the prequel movies, but in the show, if you're gonna have teen content, there's no reason for Jar Jar to be around. He feels like that way over the top, goofy character that only children will like. There's some illogical things that happened in the Season 1. The Jedi was able to be out in space, exposed, and he's wearing like this mask thing, and I don't know if that was supposed to like help him to be able to breathe, but still his skin was exposed. You could say that's a Force thing, which I really don't like, because the Force should not make you practically indestructible to space. Space is such a dangerous thing. Like, as soon as you expose just a little bit of yourself, even if you've got oxygen on, you are dead. So many horrible things happen to you at once. I feel like the basic laws of space should be kept because it's done in space.
Warning, falling debris.
Bruh.
Move on to Season 2. Season 2 from the get-go is much better than Season 1. Season 2, I said, slightly better format. Each episode's connected. It's kind of like a continuation of the story, but it's not really a part 1 or part 2 or part 3. You actually see like the aftermath of a battle and what they have to do afterwards, and sometimes they switch characters, and I think that's a good format. It feels like a connected storyline. I like Master Luminara. I kind of like her as a side Jedi, so I hope she sticks around for a little bit. Now, Obi-Wan and the Duchess, those might have been the most interesting episodes, because they start really talking about peace and war and Jedi and pacifists. Are peacekeepers and peace warriors, are they the same thing? Is the term peace warrior a contradictory terms? I like the fact that this is like an overall theme. It's just kind of a philosophical theme that I enjoy in Season 2. I appreciate that they put that in there and that they ask these questions. I get the feeling I fundamentally disagree with the showrunners on war, peace, and the Jedi. So that's for a different video. I'm going to talk about that at a different time. I love the interaction between Obi-Wan and the Duchess. The beginning of Season 2 is actually pretty good. It reaches its peak midway and then it fizzles out. And the same way with Season 1, I would have let them end on cliffhangers. Neither one of these seasons ended on cliffhangers. They're just okay. Jar Jar disappears for Season 2. I am not complaining. Creepy Sith Lady. She's like not here in Season 2. I do have a general annoyance that with Season 1 and Season 2 that everyone is Sir. So even if Ahsoka is leading a battalion of clones, they'll say, yes, sir, no, sir. Sir is specifically a male, respectful title. Ma'am is the correct word you're looking for. It's not purely a military thing. So it kind of really annoys me that everyone's a sir, which, you know, I don't know. You think that would be insulting. to the girl. I think there are inconsistencies in the story. Anakin is a Jedi Master, and sometimes he's referred to as a Jedi Knight. But in the Revenge of the Sith episode, I thought part of the reason why Anakin turned to the dark side is because he did not become a master. He wasn't a knight, and they weren't about to make him one. And for good reason. Anakin as a character is inconsistent, and so is Padme, but you have to be, because otherwise the characters would just be unbearable in this show. So, good. Those are good things that they changed. There's some things in season 2 that were fairly predictable, but I don't mind. I knew that Obi-Wan and the Duchess were not going to have to make a decision. I just knew Anakin was going to come from behind and solve that issue for them. And I think it might have been more interesting if one of them had to make a decision. Maybe they'll get to that again later. I knew the governor on Mandalore, or whatever he was, I knew he was bad news. I also knew that the second guy, he brought the bugs on board. I knew he did it. Oh, Senate Murders, that episode. I knew it was Lolo or Lulu. I knew it was her from the beginning. I think they get a little too graphic sometimes. It's mostly how they imply some people die and some shots every now and then. And I don't like that. It's too much for me because I'm a sensitive soul. I think that's overall with season 1 and season 2. Season 2, much better than season 1. I'm looking forward to season 3 and see if they can continue improving their seasons. So I'm going to go over some of the characters. So Yoda, for one. I get that this is not his show. Yoda is not supposed to make lots of appearances or really be there because this is not about Yoda. However, for the moments they do have him in, they don't handle him very well. So if you watch Empire Strikes Back, where he has a bit of an attitude, but he's very witty. He's very funny. But in the Clone Wars so far, they don't handle him well. The worst thing about Yoda is that he states the obvious. Just like him going like, "Trouble is Grievous. Catch Grievous. We must." I'm like, oh, thanks, Pops. I was wondering about that. I don't know, maybe this is one of the reasons why people start to turn on Yoda. And is it because of this show? Let's go to Padme. I don't think Padme is a terribly interesting character. I think she's good as a side character. She's like the politician, the diplomat. She's not a warrior, so, you know, she's a nice little contrast between everybody else. She's just alright, but she's much better than George Lucas's version of Padme. Let's do the Jedi next, so we can lead right into Obi-Wan. People liked the Jedi for their lightsaber ability. They like them for that they can use the Force and whatever. I get the inkling though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that people don't really like the Jedi Council, or they don't like the Jedi way. I think the Jedi way, it should be criticized. The rules should be, questioned. People should bring up issues with it so that maybe the Jedi Council can improve themselves. But I'll say this about them. I'd say that their heart is in the right place, and they're trying their very best. And I think people forget that a little bit. And I feel like the writers so far have not given a fully fair representation of the Jedi. You can have the Jedi keep those dumb rules about no attachments or no possessions, or some variation of form of that, because it makes it interesting that they would have, some type of rules that don't seem to really make sense. However, I would say that the Jedi argument for having no attachments and no possessions is more complex than just, the fear of loss and jealousy. I need something more than that. For this to be super interesting to me, and if you want to disagree with the Jedi, you need to put more meat on that argument and think about, okay, if I made this rule, though I wouldn't, what's the best avenue for me getting there? What's the most logical way? And then the part that I agree with, I would say, what's the most logical avenue to get there that I disagree with the Jedi? That's the best way to handle it, and I think it's the most interesting way of handling it. I like Obi-Wan in this series. I like when he roasts people. I like when he kind of battles with Duchess with their words. I like that. I think it's pretty cool. He makes some solid arguments. I enjoy the lighthearted interaction between him and Anakin because I don't think it happens all that often. And I think Obi-Wan should represent the good side of the Jedi. There's a lot of good that they do and a lot of good ways that they think and that are not perfect. And then we'll go to Anakin. He's a much more interesting Anakin than the prequels of Anakin. He's not whiny, he's not creepy, he's impulsive, he's overly protective, and he doesn't follow orders, which is actually, it's not a good thing. Shades of Darth Vader are coming alive in season 2. So he choked an alien, and you could hear the Darth Vader music a little bit. And then in this moment where the Duchess and Obi-Wan are at a standstill because this guy is like, I'm just gonna leave because if you shoot me, pacifist, you're a hypocrite. And Obi-Wan, if you kill me, you lose the respect of the pacifist. What are you gonna do? Anakin just ups and stabs the guy in the back. And you can kind of hear the Imperial March. He's scared to let Ahsoka go in more than one way. And I think he's especially afraid of her dying, kind of like Padme. I don't think Anakin has a lot of empathy for people who are outside of his personal circle. What Anakin judges to be fair and right and just is purely based off his emotions and not any objective standard. That's a problem. And we can kind of see this in season 2 more. Anakin like has a good heart. He's pretty rough around the edges. And if he's not careful, those rough edges can be sharpened and start turning in on himself and destroying him as a person. And I think that's what they're going to get to throughout the series. And I think that's what Lucas was trying to go for in the prequels. I like the seeing shades of Darth Vader come to life in season 2 in Anakin. And still liking Anakin overall. And I think this is going to make Anakin turning to the dark side even worse once we get to season 7. Alright, and finally Ahsoka. I would say in season 1 she's not particularly interesting. In season 2 she's starting to get there. Ahsoka holds her lightsaber differently than anyone else. And she kind of holds it like a dagger. As a animation geek, I love the fact that she holds her lightsaber differently. She fights with it differently than everybody else. And that speaks to her character. I think that she's supposed to be different than a lot of Padawans. I think it's kind of funny though, she kind of holds it behind her and she runs like this. Because if I'm a clone, I'm giving her a good solid 20 feet between me and her when we're running. Because if she suddenly stops, I'm gonna get impaled. What a way to go. I'm off to fight a battle, but no, I accidentally get impaled by this Padawan's green lightsaber. Not quite midway-ish of season 2. She questions the Jedi a little bit. She's got flaws like Anakin. I think Ahsoka is supposed to be Anakin, but what if Anakin never became evil? What if Anakin never became Darth Vader? I think Ahsoka is supposed to be the answer to that question. Because she's impulsive like Anakin, she breaks the rules like Anakin, she questions the Jedi way of things, she's got questions, but I'd say that she's kinder and she's gentler than Anakin. Her moral compass is much more intact than Anakin's. I don't think she would have stabbed that guy in the back. You can tell that she's still very much affected by death still. Like she's very concerned for everybody, for everyone's safety, not just those who are in her inner circle. She's a very caring soul. She's sensitive. And that's what Anakin doesn't have. So I think Ahsoka is supposed to be the what if Anakin never became evil character. And I think that's very interesting. So I like to see where that goes. There's some things I would change in season 2 because of philosophical differences between me and the showrunners, which I think that's what is going on. That will be a different video because I have lots to say about that. Lots of things to point out, and this video will be too long if we talk about it. So yeah, that's about it. Overall, my review for the Clone Wars so far is that it's a good show. And if you like Star Wars, you'll like this. And if you don't like Star Wars, or if you're just a casual fan of Star Wars, I think you'll enjoy it too, especially as it goes on. And check in next time for War and Peace, the Clone Wars philosophy. Bye!
Even extremists can be reasoned with.